Hi guys, how you doing? It's Dom here from the Gimme a Whole Year Wrestling podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to comment on our other videos on the Bray Wyatt Raw Reunion video and the Dolph Ziggler Shawn Michaels potential feud going into SummerSlam. Last night on NXT, or a couple of nights ago rather on NXT, depending on where you are in the world and when you've seen it, Pete Dunne arrived in NXT. Of course, NXT filmed in the US to interrupt Velveteen Dream and Roderick Strong in their heated rivalry heading into NXT TakeOver on SummerSlam weekend. Roderick Strong complained then to William Regal about Pete Dunne being put into that championship match, and Regal said he'd had a word with Johnny Saint, of course the general manager of NXT UK, about having Pete Dunne stay in NXT for a while, which is fantastic for us UK fans and honestly fantastic for fans across the world. Pete Dunne is a phenomenon for British wrestling, a great product from British wrestling, making waves in the US and really opening doors for other NXT UK talent and indeed UK talent in general to see what is possible for them. This video basically is going to discuss whether Pete Dunne is a viable WWE Champion in the future, inspired by that return to NXT in the US. Maybe that's his next move, his main roster. Obviously, he did say that he wanted to stay down in NXT UK. I say stay down. I'm not sure that's correct. Obviously, you guys might feel differently, but NXT's kind of on a level playing field at the moment, if not better than Raw and SmackDown, and NXT UK is in that bracket as well. So perhaps going down to NXT and being down in NXT is a thing of the past now. But anyway, Pete Dunne as a WWE champion, like I say, we seeing Pete Dunne in that role, coming in, wrenching Roderick Strong's fingers. Obviously, he has a background in NXT. He has teamed with Roderick Strong before. He's been a part of these War Games matches. He is a fixture in the WWE games. He is he's obviously very popular as a wrestler and a performer anyway, with even in regards to his nationality and where he comes from and his past. So yeah, obviously my first discussion, coming into that is WWE stocking him. People, myself and Anthony have discussed on the podcast his we liken him to Triple H, and we think that Triple H gets a little bit excited when he sees Pete, the way he looks, the way he acts. And that's been from the very beginning, from the very first, the genesis of NXT, where they faced off. Pete Dunne attacked a performer and a wrestler, and Triple H kind of had a glint in his eye when he saw Pete Dunne's attitude, and you could see that he without trying to sound weird, he loves Pete Dunne. He loves the concept of the character and the vibe. So I believe strongly that he is the next Triple H. Which sounds weird to say at this stage, but I think he will have a career akin to Triple H and be not only the first UK WWE World Heavyweight Champion, but also surpass. Now this is controversial, and I'm aware that this is a controversial statement here, so please feel free to argue with me in the comments, and I will comment back. Obviously, we're in early stages. It's not like we're massive yet. We appreciate everybody that comments, so I will comment back. Anthony may comment back as well. I believe he will surpass the legacies of the British Bulldog, of the Dynamite Kid, as the best UK wrestler ever. That I do not think that is a large statement. Well, it is a large statement, but I don't think in 10 years' time it will be. I think we will have seen Pete Dunne versus Roman Reigns. I think we will have seen Pete Dunne beat Roman Reigns. We may see Pete Dunne versus Triple H. We all know Triple H's ego and his idea for a big match, maybe at a Mania or for God's sake, one of the Saudi Arabia shows. But I believe we'll see that, and Pete Dunne can beat Triple H, and I believe Pete Dunne can beat Brock Lesnar. I think that's something we could see. I'm not saying it will happen. I'm saying it's a possible. I think that Pete Dunne will open the doors for guys like Zach Gibson to see their potential as a world WWE star. Pete Dunne is a company guy. His attitude says different. But in the same way that Steve Austin is, in the same way that John Cena has been, but with a little bit more attitude, Pete Dunne is in it for the long haul. He understands the opportunity he has, and I don't think he will waste it. I believe he will be better than Bulldog on the mic. I believe he will be more dynamic than the Dynamite Kid, and I believe that he will go down as the greatest of the greatest UK wrestler of all time, and that includes besting his mentor and supporter William Regal. Supporters actually, because Johnny Saint's in there as well, and I believe that Pete Dunne will inspire the next young wave of UK talent to think about the potentials for them, not only in WWE, of course, AEW and working their way up in the UK Indies, but they can see that because Pete Dunne, a lad from near Birmingham, and all, also the whole Moustache Mountain crew, actually, they're all doing exceptionally well, and Pete Dunne is at the forefront of that ever since he went to, had that explosive Raw debut in London against Enzo Amore. People have been into him. His theme music rules, his whole demeanour rules. He held the UK Championship for an extensive amount of time, and he made the time to stay in NXT UK. He probably could have had a deal in NXT, probably could have been on the main roster by now, but he wanted to promote NXT UK, and I respect that decision. Obviously, he's had Royal Rumble appearances as well. Obviously, some people, particularly Triple H, maybe even Vince, are in the back and they are getting off on Pete Dunne. They are really digging it, and that is exciting for UK wrestling fans and fans across the world, who are going to see, I've seen in the comments to the video that WWE just posted on this NXT video of him coming back. People, Americans, people from all over the planet are wanting Pete Dunne to win that North American title, and I think it's his first step to glory, and the glory that we're discussing today. My questions to you guys, because obviously we can't have this podcast, it doesn't mean anything if you guys aren't into it, if you guys aren't investing in it. What do you think? Do you believe that Pete Dunne is a viable world heavyweight champion? Do you believe that the feuds, the Brock Lesnar's, the Roman Reigns, the John Cena's, maybe some of these guys are a little bit too old I'm talking I think in the next 2 years we're going to see Pete Dunne make an appearance, regular appearances on the main roster. He might go down and do a couple of, I've said it again, so I apologise, going down. He might go back to NXT UK and make some appearances, to kind of promote the brand. I think we'll see him, we could potentially see him debut properly in a Royal Rumble, as in terms of his main roster stuff. I think the way they'll do it, I think he'll be an Intercontinental Champion first. I think that will happen for him, potentially a US Champion depending on what roster he goes on. But I think that will happen. Do you think, I made a bold statement, do you think he's the next Triple H? Do you think that that's something that can happen for him? Do you think that their stock in him is correct? Do you think that he could potentially be one of the best of all time? Do you agree with me that for guys like Zach Gibson and the whole NXT roster, NXT UK roster, do you think that he is a good example of the gateway potential for NXT UK stars to make a bigger impact on a global scale? What feuds would you like to see? I've mentioned a couple there. What feuds do you want to see Pete Dunne engage in when and if he makes the main roster transition? And finally, again, probably the most controversial thing, I would say, I think Anthony might disagree with me on this. Some of the other people involved in the Give Me a Whole Year Wrestling podcast may agree with me, may disagree with me on this. Again, I invite, try not to swear and be too mean, but I invite conversation and I invite discussion. I'm not trying to annoy anyone by saying these things, by saying that Pete Dunne will be better than Bulldog. I think he has the mic. Actually, his mic skills are pretty early on. I'm not saying he's yet, where William Regal is yet on the mic. I think he's better in the ring than the Bulldog. I think he's better in the ring than the Dynamite Kid, and I think he's better in the ring than Regal. Regal, of course, one of the greatest talkers of a certain era of the last few years, and one of the greatest villains of our time. Pete Dunne could follow in those footsteps on his way to becoming a world heavyweight champion. But I believe he will be the best. He will go down in history in the next 10 to 15 years as the best UK wrestler, the most accomplished UK wrestler of all time. Please feel free to disagree with me. Please feel free to make some points against that. Obviously, there's much more discussion. If you guys want more discussion on this, please feel free to comment. If you want me to make another video, again, please feel free to comment, and I will do that to follow up, because obviously there's a lot to discuss here. There's a lot to discuss about his potential and the things he's done. Going back to that debut on Raw, going back to the Royal Rumble, that kind of give me, and have given Anthony as well, similar ideas about the potential for Pete Dunne. And that his moveset's exceptional. The hand breaks and the finger breaks and the bitter end, it's all good. He is, he's a purebred. He's like a Randy Orton type. You know what I mean? He's in it for the long haul, and he's a potential poster boy. And it will be very interesting to see, as we have done with a few international wrestlers over the years: Jinder Mahal, Great Khali, British Bulldog, and obviously numerous others from across the world have been poster boys for the WWE, who've traditionally chosen very American, naturally American performers and certain body types, etc. I can see Pete Dunne, on the cups, on the posters and stuff like that. So, please feel free to disagree with me, but that's what I think. I'm making the case for Pete Dunne as the first ever UK World Heavyweight Champion, and potentially the best UK wrestler of all time within the next 10 to 15 to 20 even years. Having a legacy similar to that of, surpassing that of Bulldog, surpassing that of Regal and Dynamite, but potentially even similar to Lesnar, potentially even similar to Cena, to Ric Flair even. Potentially, these are grand things. These are grand statements I am making. But what do you guys think? It doesn't really matter what I think without your comments. So please feel free to invest in us, and we will invest in you by posting videos, by commenting back, and by engaging, because obviously we cannot exist without your comments and love and support. If you do want to support us, you can check us out on Redbubble. We've got merchandise, t-shirts. You can see the videos, in the history of wrestling stuff, the wrestling rewind stuff. You can see Anthony and me, more so Anthony because he washes his shirt more. You can see us wearing the Give Me a Whole Year Wrestling t-shirts, and you can see us holding the Give Me a Whole Year Wrestling mug. Please go and check out that. We also have a Patreon where you can link to our merchandise. We also have Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram / Give Me a Whole Year. So please do check those out, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to keep it gay, and we will see you again. I will see you again very, very soon.